I like that. Hello. We've been alone for a while. Me and my heart were tired. I love this. All right. Thank you. Hey, it's BT with Tales from the Gemini. I am so excited. I'm excited every week for this. Honestly, this has really got me through, my depression with the everything going on with COVID and everything. This has kind of it's kind of cool, man. Like I look forward to doing this, even though I'm not getting paid. Actually, I'm paying you to do this. So I should be depressed because I don't have a job and I got to pay you to do this. But so you're kind of like me. You're kind of like my counselor. You're kind of like my psychiatrist. I'm paying you so I can talk and get it off my chest. Oh my God, ain't a little bit to it, Wyatt. Well, if it was a little bit, then don't take my money a little bit. but this is great. So thank you so much, Wyatt, for seriously meeting you was a godsend. And I'm so excited for this. Hopefully, did you send a link for her to call in? Oh, is she calling in now? Okay, it's BT from Tales from the Gemini. I am, obviously it's Tales from the Gemini. I am so excited for I'm excited for all my guests. If I get to a point where I'm not excited for my guests, I guess I shouldn't do this, right? If I get a guest like, okay, I guess they're going to come. I mean, I should be excited for everybody, but I'm really excited for this guest as always. And I always know I love that girl's t-shirt. Kiss, baby. Kiss all the way. Destroyer. Remember Kiss, Destroyer? You remember Kiss? You don't remember Kiss. The Rock. You've heard, oh my God, you've heard of Kiss, but you don't know Kiss. Yes, she came back. How cool was that? She came back. I guess she wasn't paying attention. I thought I made her mad if she just ignored me, but that's great though. Okay, so she should be calling in, but that's funny. Kiss, it was the greatest rock and roll band ever in the 70s. I mean, just because of the theatrics. I mean, rock and roll, the best rock and roll band I think was Led Zeppelin and the Rolling Stones back in the 70s, but Kiss they had everything, man, with the makeup. You don't remember the makeup and the blood and the big theatrics? The 70s were big and they did everything like that. So Kiss was the greatest. We're just waiting for Vanessa to call in right now. Okay, here I go. I'm going to tell her to click the link. I'm going to say, click. Maybe her thing is wrong. Maybe her timing. Remember, she has a slow clock. Maybe she's like a minute behind. You never know, right? She's on Madrid time, so maybe Madrid's like a what do you call it? Maybe Madrid is. I just told her to click it. Is it supposed to rain today? Oh, there she is, ladies. Oh, there she is. Oh, I can't wait. Come on. This is always my favorite part, the very beginning. Oh, there she is. Vanessa. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hey, how are you?
How's it going?
How are you?
I'm good. Hold on a minute. I think I'm connecting both of my computer and my phone.
I can't wait. This is awesome.
Okay, now.
Okay.
Go for it.
Okay, but you're telling me to do it on my show. Okay, go for it and action. Listen, I'm the producer. I'm the director on my show. But before we get started, last week when I was interviewing Milena, I was feeling so good about myself. I go, the first ever female manager in MotoGP, and I was so excited about myself. The interview went great, and I was feeling good. And I swear, we finished up, and I was feeling good about myself. And I looked at my phone, and I got a message, and the message was exactly. She goes, and it was from Vanessa Carlotta, and it said I was actually the first female team manager at Moto2 back in 2010. But that's okay. Still love you. And I mean,
exactly.
My whole body went cold, and I go, oh my God. And then I go, first of all, that's bad journalism, first of all. And now I felt like I didn't do my job. And then it was you, and I was like, oh my God. So I feel I had to make up to you. I said, you know what? We're gonna go on next week. We're gonna correct this. And then I thought, why not? Because you know what? I was thinking about my just experiences in MotoGP. And I can't say you've always been there, but for the last 5-6 years you have. Because we met 2016, freezing my ass off in Phillip Island. It was Phillip Island, Australia, freezing.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved it. It's one of the greatest, it's one of the beautiful tracks ever. And I turn and look, and there was, and no offense, a short girl, but fashionable. Like oh my God, fashionable, because you had that.
I'm travel sized. I'm travel size.
Yeah, yeah. How tall are you? How tall are you? How tall are you?
I'm 158, so 1 meter 58 centimeters. So not extremely tall, but it's very convenient for traveling.
Well, we're American, which means we're not very smart. So yeah, we don't know what centimeters are. All we know we're like 2
So
liters.
that's 5'2".
Okay. Oh, you're like Prince size. So you and Prince could have went out. You could have had Prince as a boyfriend. How great would that have been? That would have been.
We wouldn't have had very tall babies.
Who cares? They would have been gorgeous. You and Prince having babies. They were the most talented babies on the history of the earth. They could have sung. They would have learned 10 languages. They could have played instruments and rode motorcycles. What? You could have had Prince. Oh my God. And instead you're doing a podcast with me right now. So, hey, sometimes like
Hey, I'm super happy. And by the way, congratulations for the podcast.
First of all,
amazing job you're doing.
No, thank you so much. And I mean this from the bottom. And you know what I like about you is you almost adopt my philosophy on life in that sometimes you have a plan, but sometimes life just takes its you have to go with what life gives you, because you started out, and here's what I love about your life. You were born in Switzerland to Spanish parents, okay, and you went to school in Paris and here in Boston. How did you end up in Boston, by the way? How did you end up going to school in Boston?
So okay, so I'll tell you the story. So back in the day when I was in high school in Madrid, I was going to an American high school and I had an American boyfriend.
Oh.
So we were still together by the time we I applied for college, and basically I had been accepted at Northeastern University, so in downtown Boston. And so about a month before I was heading to college, we broke up.
What did he do? Because I know it was his fault because you're perfect. What did he do?
He was a year older than me, so he had been, already back in university for a year, and I just think he met someone else.
How can he meet somebody better? You know what? You give me a name.
Long distance. When
we end this, you give me a name and give me a number. I will find him, and I know some Patriots. I mean, New England Patriots, and we will break his. He will never be heard from again. Who would break up with you? Seriously, But then were you heartbroken? Were you heartbroken at the time?
You know what? Because we were doing long distance for a while, I think it just sort of, fizzled out. Yeah. So I was heartbroken, but it didn't hurt as much as it would have had we been, in the same side of the Atlantic Ocean.
There you go. Okay, so now what did you think of the United States? Because I love to ask people who aren't from here when they come here, like, what did you think of, and like, would you ever consider living here?
So I was there for 1 year, and then I transferred back to Europe to finish my business degree. And I have to say, there's one thing I didn't really enjoy is the snowstorms during the winter. Luckily, Boston has the tunnels underground. So basically in our campus, we could go from one building to another underground. There were tunnels. And then you'll have like food carts halfway through between in the tunnel. So it was something. The thing is for me, right? If there's snow, I need to be able to ski. I'm Swiss born. So having snow and not being able to enjoy it wasn't my thing. But other than that, I have to say, I loved Boston, but Paris was calling, so.
Oh, look, you went to Paris from Boston. You know what that's like? That's like going from a Ford Focus to a Ferrari. That's what it's like. Seriously. An old Ford Focus to a Ferrari. You went from Boston to Paris. Come on now. I mean, I've been to
the Ford Focus.
No, listen, Ford Focuses are great. I mean, they get good gas mileage. They're cheap to rent. I've had one. I'm just saying, if the price is right and I'm at Avis and I got a chance to rent a Ferrari over a Ford Focus, I'm going with the Ferrari. And that's all I'm saying. I'm sure there's nothing wrong. I've been to the Boston airport. I'm in the Dunkin' Donuts, good coffee. But if I got a chance to go to Paris, yes.
Come on.
Exactly. So, okay. So, and now let's get to the point. And now you're majoring in business and minor in global communications. You're gonna what's the plan? What's the plan in your life?
So at that point, the plan was to stay in Paris after I was done with my degree and do an internship in the marketing department at Chanel and stay within the luxury good industry. But life sort of threw me a curveball, and I went in another direction, as you know.
And for people who don't know, which I don't know why they wouldn't know about you, is that your brother raced motorcycles, and as the story
Yes.
goes, I think they were in Donington Park in England, and he goes, "Hey, come down and watch me race. I'm about to show these mates what's up." And they got there, and they were like, "Hey, listen, we're all Spanish. I don't know what these guys are saying. They're saying something about shepherd's pie. Help us out." And you said, "Okay, I ain't doing nothing. I might as well. Let me help you out. I speak 5 languages. I don't want to brag, but that's what I do." And so all of a sudden they go, "Hey, you want a job? You ain't doing nothing anyway." And you go, "Yeah, I'm broke." And next thing you know, a career is born. I mean,
yeah,
that's it.
In a nutshell.
In a nutshell, that's how it is. You needed a job, and your brother nepotism, and that's what happened. You got the job, right?
I got the job because the team needed someone to help out, organizing the trips and managing the team. But basically, in terms of accounting, in terms of bookkeeping, in terms of, all the traveling arrangements, hotels, or, flights, car rentals, all of that no one wants to deal with. They're like, "Oh, she speaks languages." He was in the European Championship back then, and he's like, "She can deal with any language in Europe except for, Czech Republic, or German." But she's like, the rest of Europe, she can handle it. So yeah, so they said, "Why don't you join the team?" And I was like, "Sure, I don't know anything about racing." And 12 years later, I'm still here.
Okay, so now you say you don't know anything about racing, but your brother raced. I mean, were you guys close? I mean, did he just go, "Hey, I'm going racing," and you were like, "Okay, I'm going to go smell some perfume because I think I want to work for Chanel someday."
Well, this is the thing. There's a 4.5-year gap between me and him. So by the time he started racing, I was in uni. So I was in Boston for a year, and then I was in Paris for 4. So while he was beginning his racing career, because he started off quite late, I was already, studying in uni. So by the time I got back, I'm like, "Ooh, okay, racing. Well, this is new."
Okay. So now, were you ever like I know you had a motorcycle growing up, but were you ever like at all like interested in racing? Where you're kind of like, it's on TV, okay, and you go about your way.
I wouldn't stop and watch. Back then, I would watch the Formula One races, but I wouldn't really watch the MotoGP ones. So that was quite the conversion.
So you crossed over.
And since I started working, I did. And since I started working in MotoGP, I never watched a Formula One race again.
Okay, well, let's go back then. So you work with your brother, and they went from Spanish championships to Moto 2, and that's when you became the first ever female manager in Moto, which congratulations. And I think
Thank you.
And it's a testament to how you are as a person. Because I mean, from the first moment I saw you or got to know you, I could tell you pretty much had your things together. You're pretty much like everything was. It's weird. It's hard to say, but it's like I could tell you had your things together, and you were a very organized kind of person. So when you got that, like, "Hey, do you want to be a team manager?" I mean, was that like, "Oh my God, how can I do this?" Or was it like, "Okay, I can do this"? Or was it overwhelming? And were you like, "I don't know if I can do this"?
So by the time I got to be a team manager, I basically got 2 racing seasons under my belt, because we were back in the Superbikes paddock doing the European Stock 600 Championship with my brother. And then on my 3rd season, we started, in the first season of the Moto2 class. And that's when I became a full-on team manager. But so by the time I was there, I knew about racing. I knew I had spent a lot of time in the pit box with mechanics, and engineers. And I had, made a point to, ask as many questions as I could. And I've even fallen asleep in a pit box while putting all the stickers at the beginning of the season on the pit wall. On the pit box panels. We ended up, it was like 1:30 a.m. and we were finishing up just, putting on the stickers on the pit box panels for sponsors and all. So, and on the bikes, because I've put the stickers on the bikes too.
You've done it all. You've done it all.
Yes, pretty much, from painting the inside of the fairings, because they would be white, and so they would look a little better in photos, when they're leaning and the white doesn't show and you see just,
look
black.
at you. Look the attention to detail. That's why you're where you are. That's attention to detail. I mean, honestly, who thinks that? When the bike's leaned over, they're going to be able to see that, and this is going to look that red is going to pop. That's
but you know, it adds a little bit of weight, but it not as significant that, you know, it might make a difference on the lap times. But yeah, but you know, from those tiny details to the bookkeeping to, you know, the lifespan of spare parts, you know, to be able to make a prediction of what we need for the flyaways, like all of that I already knew, you know, before I got into, you know, my Moto2 team manager. So yeah, I mean, and I was slightly intimidated the first time I went to a team manager's meeting.
Yeah.
Because they looked at me. I walked into the room, you know, for the meeting, and they're like, "Excuse me, are you lost?" And I'm like, "No." I'm like, is this the team manager's meeting room? And they're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "No, then I'm not lost." Then I sat down, and no one ever said anything else to me.
I love that. You walked in like you were 6'2" instead of 5. Yeah, just yeah, man, yeah, that's yeah. I'm where I'm supposed to be. What? That's how you do it. You know what you like. Julia Roberts said it best. You gotta until you be the man. You gotta act the part first. Basically, before you get where you gotta act the part first, and until you get the part, and you acted the part first, and that's what you gotta do, and you laid it down.
Yeah.
That's how you gotta do. Hey, the buck stops here. I'm that team manager. You got a problem with me? There's the door. What? There's the door. What? I know I'm 5'2". I'll put this 5'2" shoe up your ass. Good for you, baby. I mean that. That's awesome. Okay, so now how was that relationship wise with your brother? Because like, did it make you guys closer? Did it? I mean, and there's a time when there's family, but there's also business. Well, there's a time you look at the bike and go, you know what? You can do better. I think you need to do better.
Well, this is the thing. Any family member, when they have someone who's racing or in the racing industry, there's a point in which you need to make a decision in your life. You know, either you're scared for for that person that's racing in your family, and you become a dead weight. It's like trying to move forward with the e-brake on, or on the other hand, you decide to, accept the risk that comes with the sport, and, just push them to, to be better and be a force to drive them forward. So that's the one decision you need to make. And that's the one I made very early on, because he enjoyed it. He loved the sport. The passion was there. And I was like, okay, at the beginning, the first year, I was a bit scared, of crashes and, and when there's so many riders, all together.
Yeah,
it is a bit scary. So, But I will tell you something. The first Moto2 race in Qatar in 2010, there was 42 bikes on the starting grid.
And he started
42.
39th. He was 39th, right? He started 39th, right?
And it was scary, because I was thinking that first right-hander, at the end of the start, the start-finish straight, I was like, oh my God, if something happens.
Yeah.
And the thing is, lights went out, the race, got underway, and I was hanging on the pit wall to wait and see everyone through that first right-hander. And, then I was like, I could breathe again.
Yeah.
But I think that's the only time I was a bit scared for him.
Okay. So now, when did you start, say, falling in love with the sport? Because like you kind of like, fell into it, like, okay, I'll help you guys out.
Yeah.
And now it's like you said, 12 years later, you're still doing it. So when did the love, like, I really love what I'm doing. Like, I really love this sport. I love what I'm doing. I don't need anything else. I mean, I've met BT. I'm talking to him now. So what more in life could I ask for? I mean, when did the love come to the sport?
I've peaked. I've spoken to you. I've met you. I've peaked in life. That's it.
Man, if that's the case, I feel bad for you. No.
Come on.
No, so, when did the love happen? Yeah, when did you start falling in love with it?
So when we were in the Superbikes paddock, I think that's when I fell in love with it, because we would watch every single race from every single class. So from Stock 600 to Stock 1000 to Super Sport to Superbikes.
Right.
And, I would watch Superpole, race 1, race 2. I would watch everything with the team, and just, the more you learn about the sport and the more you follow, a race weekend, you just get into it. But the thing about this sport, BT, and I think you will agree with me, there is no half measure with this. It's either you love it or you're indifferent to it. There is no middle ground, and that's what happened.
I can't understand that there's people being indifferent. I honestly, I can't. and this is just me and maybe my ignorance, but I can't see somebody being indifferent because from the moment I saw it, when I moved here in Indianapolis, and I saw it on TV, I was like, oh my God. And I've always loved motorcycle racing anyway. And growing up the way we did, it would come on very sparingly. So I would watch like, oh my God, I loved it. And I remember having my 50, I had a little 50, and I remember it was a dirt bike, but when I got on the street, I would try to get a knee on the street. I remember that because I'm watching it. And then, through the course of just life, whatever, I got away from it, but I always, would peek in, see what's going on. So when I moved back to Indy and the race came to Indy, and I mean, if you go to a MotoGP race and you see it live, I can't understand indifferent because, man, after that, it was like, to me, it was like seeing that woman pass you by and go, oh my God, love it first sight. You go, that's the one I want. And after that, nobody can compare. And I've been that way ever since. And every year, the addiction has grown stronger. Like, this is my crack. I'm like Bobby Brown. This is my crack. Every year, the addiction grows stronger. And I mean it from the bottom of my heart. You've seen me on the grid. I mean, I'm like a kid. You're going, is this a grown man? I just, and what I love about you, honestly, I remember is like, you'll be interviewing somebody, right? And you'll see me, and like for a quick second, you'll see me in the background, and I see your, in a split second, you go, oh God, and you got to turn back. And you keep your interview going like, okay, he's here. Okay. And you'll just keep your interview going. And that's the greatest thing because you know how much of a
always go in for the hug. I always go in for the hug.
No. Listen, I know how annoying I am, but like I said, this is my sport and I love it. So I know how I am. So, and I just love how you have to be professional because I'm there for shits and giggles. I save my money up. I'm going to watch this race and you're there for work and you're interviewing these racers and whatever. But it's a split second, but it said, oh God, he's here. And you turn back right here. You go, okay, I'm sure he's going to talk to me later on today or whatever. I'm sure I can't get away from him. But anyway, so Jack, tell me, what's it like being in Ducati? You know what I mean? And it's the greatest thing. It's the greatest thing in the world. I think from the very first moment that we became friends in Phillip Island, I remember we talked and you were really cool. And then that night, I was looking for a place to eat, and I went to that Italian restaurant, and you were there. And I remember you were talking to some guy, whatever, at the table, maybe at the bar, or whatever. And I saw you turn around. I was like, oh my God, there's that girl. And I wanted to talk to you, but I thought it was business where I didn't know you like that, and I know you didn't know me like that. I was like, oh, I don't want to.
Yeah.
And ever since then, that's when the friendship happened. And it was so beautiful because I remember I was in Madrid, which I love, by the way. I was in Madrid at the airport. Remember, I was going to Jerez, and I turned and they go, group one. And I looked over, and there you were. I was like, that's that girl again, Vanessa. And then we sat together. We landed in Jerez. I rented a Fiat 500 because, and honestly, that was one of my goals in life was to rent. I set my goals very low. I set my goal to get a Fiat 500, and I rented that, and I let you drive it. Remember that? You drove my Fiat 500, and we had so much fun.
I drove your rental, but do you remember that you and I have road tripped from Madrid to Valencia for the GP?
I was going to get that. I was going to get to that because I remember when I travel, I have no plan at all. I really don't. I mean, I go, okay, I don't want to go to Valencia, but it's cheaper to land in Madrid. I'll just land in Madrid. Oh, I didn't know it was that far from Valencia. How I get there? I don't know. And I think I hit you up. You go, okay, listen. You were like, okay, listen, here's the deal. I'm going to drive, but I'm going to leave at 6 in the morning. I will be at your hotel at 6 in the morning. You better be ready. I said, okay. I remember I got into the lobby at 5:58 and I saw you making that U-turn. I go, oh, man, she was not bullshitting. And so I was ready and we got in the car and we had the best road trip. You stopped, you got me breakfast. You paid for like a croissant. I remember that.
Yeah. And a coffee. And the coffee. You paid. I know. I was like, man, this girl making money because you paid for both of them. And then we went to Valencia and then we went to the track and then we went shopping because I had to wait for you. Because I remember we had lunch. And then you go, I think you had me hold your purse. And you go, hold on, I'm going to go see if they have this one thing. I said, okay. And that's the only time in my life I ever felt like I was a married man. So I was waiting. I was going, where the hell is she? And I was waiting. I go, where is she? And I was like, man, if we had kids right now, I'd be so mad. And you went and you came back. I think it was like 10 minutes later. I was like, I want to be like, where were you? And then we got in the car. And then it felt so bad because you dropped me off at my rental car at Valencia airport. At the airport.
And I was like, oh, man, because I was really enjoying. We had so much fun hanging out.
Yeah,
I mean, you were always so much fun. I remember, and I also remember, there's things about you I always remember that was that. Jerez, and I remember in Austin for the after party, and I just remember just walking in the sidewalk. You had that
Yeah.
red dress. That dress looked so beautiful on you. No, seriously, you had that red dress, and I was like,
Thanks.
oh my god! And I think you had a shawl with it, and I was like, you just look.
Yes, I did.
You look stunning. I mean, absolutely stunning in that dress. And I remember I was going,
Making me blush.
no, it's just the truth. I mean, and I never was like, hey, Vanessa, but I was like, oh my God, you look beautiful. You did. I was like, oh my God. I mean, it was a stunning kind of like I was dressed like like I always am, like kind of grungy, kind of dirty jeans or whatever. And I tell you, I felt like I was homeless, and you had like $3. And I was like, hey, can I borrow $1? I mean, you look so beautiful. Like I shouldn't even be talking to you. And that's what I remember from you. And we've always been so cool with each other. That's what I've always loved. Always been so cool. And you live the kind of life I want to live, because you start, like I said, you fell into it. You fell into this job, which was great. And then you became a pit reporter. Your brother quit racing, but you stayed in
But
GP.
before that, I was a press officer for Repsol Honda.
I was going to get to, that to me. Okay, now being behind the scenes and writing the press releases, what the writers say. Okay, tell us, do you tell those writers, well, because you were a press officer for Danny Pedrosa and Mark Marquez, and was that Marquez's rookie year? Was it his rookie year?
No, it was his second year. It was the year he won 10 races in a row.
Okay, yeah, that year, he just tore the track up, yeah. Okay.
And that's the year we got the Triple Crown. So we won the Constructors Championship, the teams, and the riders.
Okay, so tell us, do you guys tell those riders what to say? I mean, because those MotoGP guys, if you've ever been to a press conference, anybody seen a press conference, I mean, their responses are always really PC, very, I mean, no offense, very kind of bland, but kind of middle of the road and kind of like, okay, ho-hum. Like, do you guys tell them what to do, or is that coming from them? How does it work?
No, so we don't tell them exactly what to say. Like, for example, before we head to a GP, especially when you work in a factory team, you need to basically monitorize a bit on all international media, whether it's French, English, Italian, or Spanish, to see what's being said about the team or the factory riders. And according to what's happening, there's any sort of controversial things being said, you sort of highlight that to the team manager or team principal back in the day, and sort of let him know that that's the case, so he'll be prepared for the media day on Thursday of the GP weekend. But and then the team manager will let the riders know if there's anything that needs to be addressed or not. But then that's between them, and then they would let us know. And then during the race weekend, when we get the quotes from the riders, at the end of the day, to let us know how the day went, how the sessions went, qualifying or race, they basically say what they have to say. And once the press release is written, the team manager basically proofreads it. Once he approves it, then we send it. If the team manager decides that the quote is not quite PG, then we sort of review it, get the rider to we get the rider to basically okay the whatever modifications we've made, and then the press release is sent.
Okay, so now what part of that job, what surprised you part of that job, working behind the scenes, being a press officer, like working with the riders that close? Like because you kind of saw how the pizza was made, you know what I mean? Like from the outside, like, oh, that pizza looks great. But now you're inside the pizza place. You're watching them put the pepperoni or the margarita, you're watching it being made. So how was it different?
So when you're in the inside and you see how hard it is to get to where the teams are, and everything that has to happen in order for a season to run smoothly or to get, the top results, there's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of people involved that you don't see that there are behind the scenes or behind the, the pit box panels. And there's a lot going on, a lot of research and development that you guys don't see. And a lot of effort, a lot of sacrifice. And, it's tougher than people would think. I have to say that teams and riders make it look easy, from the outside. But when you're inside, you can tell, all the sacrifices they have to make, all the work that goes into it.
No. What kind of sacrifice are you talking about? I mean, without any names, without naming names.
The working hours, like for example, if a rider crashes on Saturday, after qualifying, or on Friday, they might stay up until 1 or 2 a.m., or up till 3 a.m., rebuilding the bike, and then they'll have to be back at the track at 7. That's that kind of working hours, because there is no 9 to 5, like in an office. It's completely different. And then you're away from your family, and then you don't go out, you don't drink, you keep a very healthy diet. You racing is a lifestyle choice. It's a way of life. It's not something that you just sort of dabble in. And that goes for riders, mechanics, engineers. Anyone that is involved in the paddock knows that this is a lifestyle choice.
Right.
And everyone makes sacrifices.
But is in the long run, do you think it's worth it?
Yes.
And do you think the riders think it's worth it?
Yes, because everyone that works in racing has something in common, is that we have a shared passion for the sport. So that's what makes it worth it. Yes. And it's a job that you wake up looking forward to doing. You look forward to, waking up at 4 a.m. and going to the airport and flying halfway across the world for it, because you love what you do.
Yes.
And it's a blessing, okay? And we're extremely lucky that we can get to do this, because not everyone wakes up looking forward to going to the office and performing their job.
Yes.
But bills need to get paid regardless of whether you like it or not.
Exactly.
I
understand that. I mean, that's what I love about you guys. There's a passion for it. And it's like, my passion is going to the races and watching. Even though I love my job, and I tell people all the time, I love my job, but man, MotoGP and watching it and going to a race weekend is this. I mean, there's nothing I love doing. Like you said, I don't know if in Jerez, you knew in Jerez that I had a hotel that was over an hour away. Like, 'cause I don't really look at a map. And so it was over an hour away. And so I had to wake up at 4:30 in the morning on race day. And I got to the track at 6:30, and I was gonna go to sleep in the parking lot in my car. And right when I set the front seat back, as soon as I sit on the speakers in Jerez, they start blasting "We Will Rock You." I go, okay, I'm up now. And but you know what? I didn't get mad, because I mean, every time you see me at MotoGP weekend, I'm the happiest I've ever been in my life. I can imagine working in that kind of passion. So when you're working around the riders, okay, let's say with Mark, you can tell you and Mark have a great rapport, and everything you guys do, there's a great kind of, I love watching you guys, because there's a great laughing, and there's great. Now, what was it like working with Danny? Because everybody knows Danny's a little more reserved, at least to the media. What was Danny like behind closed doors? If you can say that, if you can feel free.
Danny is a great guy, because Danny and I are closer in age, so we had a very good, really working relationship. And he's someone that, it takes him a little bit to trust you. He needs to get to know you a little bit and then to trust you. But he's someone that he did something once for me that was amazing. Is that when I was in Repsol Honda in 2014. My grandfather passed away from my mom's side, and I didn't want to tell anyone. I didn't want the riders to know. We were in Italy. I couldn't fly back, because they told me like one day later. Anyway, so basically, I didn't want to tell anyone, but Danny found out. And the following day, so my ritual when I got to the track when I was at Repsol Honda is I would go to my truck, drop off my backpack, go into the pit box, say hello to everyone, first to Mark or Danny's side, and then the other one. I would switch sides. So I went that day into Mark's side of the pit box, say hello to everyone. Then I went to Danny's, and then Danny was there with his crew chief, and they were just chatting away. And he was there sitting on his chair, and, I said hello to everyone. And then all of a sudden he stands up, comes, towards me, gives me a hug, and he says, "I'm so sorry." And I was like, ooh. And I'm like, oh, thanks. I was like, how do you know? He's like, that doesn't matter. And I'm like, oh, thank you. But that was not it. At the end of the day, of the work day, I went back to see him, because we modified his quote from, the end of the day. And so I went to check with him if it was okay. And we checked it together. He's like, that's okay. And then he went, "How was your day? How are you doing?" And I was surprised, that someone, he's a MotoGP rider. He has enough on his plate, and he's worrying about how how my day has been, given that I just lost a family member. And that's sort of like,
that's beautiful.
It was heartwarming for me, it was like, oh, wow. And he was the only one who did that. And there were several people in the team that knew. And, from the person that I expected it the least, like, he was the one who sort of like checked on me. And that was very heartwarming.
That goes a long ways. I mean, it really does. I mean, that gives me goosebumps. I mean, seriously, because
Yeah.
yeah, you do. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's always working relationships, but when somebody does that, man, I mean, I just got tears in my eyes from seriously just from you saying it.
But you know what? We used to work a lot with the Make-A-Wish Foundation, and we don't usually advertise that back in the day. And I remember this one time, this child who was very very ill. He came into the pit box, and Daniel was playing with him. He got the kid, he put him on the bike, he explained everything to him, and he told me, no one is allowed to take photos or videos except for this child's parents. And I'm like, okay. So I made sure that no one would disturb them and that no one would be taking photos of them, just the family. And then he had like prepared like this merchandising package, as a gift for the kid. And it was just heartwarming to see him, rolling on the floor with the kid and just next to the bike, and them just sort of like laughing and talking. And he just made that kid, so happy, and he didn't want to advertise that. And for me, that was something that really showed, the kind of person he is.
That's beautiful. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it really does though. I mean, because no offense to some athletes, and not naming names, whatever, but they have the camera there, and that's fine. It's fine. But yeah, when they do it like that, God, that's beautiful. You know what I mean? And he's not really a in the public kind of guy. So man, I love stories like that. I really do. Yeah. Okay, so let's go. You after you get out of Repsol Honda, after you become a pit lane reporter, and didn't you get that?
Yep.
No, did you get that? Were you working with French television when you did that?
I was working with French television the year after I worked for Honda, so in 2015.
And Alexis Masbou kind of helped you with that, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah, he never calls me for stuff like that. I hit him up on his Instagram all the time when he won the race in Qatar. I was like, way to go, Alexi. And he never even hit me up for that job. And Alexi,
but can you speak French fluently? Can you speak it fluently?
Oui.
Are you sure about that?
You ain't got to be that way. You got to call me out of my own show. There's no reason to call me out of my own show. I'm trying. Hey, when I landed at Charles de Gaulle this year, I did very well. I went where I had to go without even asking directions, and I knew, and I spoke a little, and I was good. So there, how about that? See, I'm good.
Yeah,
like that.
I mean,
yeah. So
your French is good enough to get around and to eat, so you're good.
I can say croissant, and that's all it needs to be said. Okay, so listen, with that kind of background, when you became a pit lane reporter, do you think the riders respected you because you knew kind of like what they were feeling when you asked them, and you knew when to go in? Like, okay, let's just say like, I know you had to go, like, say when somebody crashed, you had to go in and ask them what happened. Do you give them a second? And
yes.
you know the riders, like, and you know them pretty well, so okay, this guy's gonna be different from this guy, his temperament. It's like, let's just say if remember Jack Miller and Bautista got into it in Jerez and they crashed together. Did you? I don't know if you're playing reporter then, but would you like take a second and be like, okay, I'm gonna wait about 10 minutes and then I'll ask Jack what happened, because I mean Jack's a little different than the other. You know what I mean? Like, you have to go with riders' personalities.
This is the thing. When you have worked in a team, you know when to leave them some room to breathe and to sort of gather themselves and then let them speak. Because there are some people, and I'm not going to name names, some journalists that just want to go in to get, the reaction.
Right.
And I guess I am a bit protective sometimes. I've been accused of being overprotective with riders. And I think that happens with me because of my brother, because he was a rider. And I have that sort of respect, not only respect, it's sort of like that empathy with them. And that's why I'll be like, I want to protect them, let them breathe for a second, and then, just go in and ask. And I'll ask first, do you mind if I ask you a question? I never do it,
just barge
I won't
in.
Just spring it on them, no.
What happened? And you do that, and they go,
no.
They wouldn't do it too. Yeah, but you do know their their personality. There's one rider.
Yeah.
We will not name names. We are not going to name names. But there's one rider. I think you just had a regular sit down interview with him, and you got pissy, and that's how I know he's not a good person, because you don't get mad. And remember, I think you know who I'm talking about. And we were like, really, he did that to you? Like, do you even want to be here? And he was like, yeah, whatever. And I was like, okay, that sounds about like him.
I felt bad for his team, and even his press officer was like, saying he was sorry. He said he was sorry like 1,000 times because he was, embarrassed by his rider's behavior. We can understand that, they could have a bad day. We all have bad days, and we can
Everybody.
understand that. But at the end of the day, you're there to do a job. I'm there to do a job. Let's just, make it, work. And
Right.
I can be patient to a certain extent. But what I don't appreciate is the diva behavior.
Yeah.
That's what I have an issue with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, since you were behind the scenes and everything, tell us, if you can, what's Mark like behind the scenes? Behind the scenes, what's Mark like that people don't see? People don't see.
Mark is exactly the same as you see him in front of the camera, and he loves to dance and he loves a laugh, and he is like a boy's boy, like very much a boy's boy.
You know what? That's exactly how I feel. I thought before now, I'm smart enough to know I get these guys when they're like in Moto 3. I know that sounds bad. It sounds like I'm a pedophile, but I like those guys when they're like in Moto 3, when they're coming up, And I figure if you be
at least you didn't say rookie scuff.
Actually, I like the two brothers. But anyway, so I get them in Moto 3, whatever, when they're coming up, and I believe if you befriend a kid then, and you follow them, whatever, they're kind of more apt to be like, hey, he's been with me from the get-go. So I was that way with Bradley Smith, and now me and him are tight. And so with Mark, I remember Mark from the Moto when 125 but I met him in Moto 2. I scared the shit out of him in Mugello. He was in his pit, and I went and hugged him, and he was like, who the hell is it? You got to see the picture. He's like this. Me and him were hugging, and I'm like, Mark, and I'm hugging him like this. So anyway, we became friends. So he went up to the big time what he is, and I thought, okay, he kind of forgot about me. So we were in Germany at the Session, and I accidentally walked into the Alpine Stars thing when they were having a private event. I go, oh, and I closed the door, and I was just sitting there waiting like this. I was sitting like this. And he walks out and he hits me on the butt to kind of let me know, hey, I still know who you are. And he left. And we didn't say a word, but it was the greatest ever, just to let me know, hey man, I still know. And that's what I love about those guys. And that's what I love about him, is that he still kind of knows, he remembers me from that day. So that's what I like about that, man. I mean, I think once you become, like I said, start when they're young. And as they grow up, they never forget. It's like an elephant. When you put that little thing down, to keep them from moving. When they get big, they can move, but mentally they still think they're stuck there. You know what I mean? And that's what I do. I'm the elephant, and I put the thing down. I do. Okay, so listen. Now you've got the dream job. Now what you're doing now, you've always been on point, always. But now your new gig at Red Bull TV.
Yeah.
Where you're in the inside pass, or just inside pass on YouTube, you're with the riders, and what you're doing is incredible. You've done everything, and it's because it's fun. You see the riders away from the track, or at the track, but they're doing fun stuff. They're doing stuff like, I saw you did the helicopter, you did the Turkish 8 or whatever, in the helicopter, and then you rode the four-wheelers, and then you rode in the back with Randy Mamola. You do the fun, and I think the funniest episode ever, when you had the airbag on the VCO, and it went off. Oh my God, that's literally gut. To me, that is you, and that's the best part about GP. I don't know how they should do it, but that should be at every everybody should watch that. Watch Inside Pass with Vanessa Carlotta, and that is the best part about GP, because you see the riders and what they do in interviews, but that's them being who they are. And I mean, it is incredible what you do, and you're the producer of that, right?
I'm a creative producer on the show, yes.
Okay, and who comes up with all those crazy things? Who comes up with that?
Well, the airbag was my idea. I've been wanting to do that for years with a rider, and I felt like traditional TV, wouldn't allow me to do that, because it's live TV and you're on pit lane, and you're not going to deploy an airbag, just for fun on live TV.
Yeah, of course.
But I was like, in a joking way, I was like, why don't we just, do this airbag challenge? We do like a tech talk piece about the airbag system.
Right.
And then we just sort of deploy it with a rider. And they're like, okay, if you can make it happen. So I went off, I spoke to Alpine Stars. They said yes. Then I went and spoke to Dovi's manager. He said yes, and we made it happen.
I thought that was great because Dovi's almost in a way kind of like Danny in a way. He's kind of like, he doesn't really like the the media. He's more like a straight laced kind of dude. He doesn't like social media. And to watch him just get that, I mean, to watch people who don't really laugh. I mean, you could tell he had a great time with that, and you bought that out of him. And that's what you do. You bring those little nuggets out of people, man, which is great. Yeah. Seriously, you could interview probably our president, and you probably get him to laugh. That's how great you are. Seriously, man.
I don't know about that.
But
and I don't think we could find a suit big enough to deploy an airbag with him in it.
Oh, look at you. That's a
just saying.
No, I love it. I don't care. I think it's great. No, good for you. That is awesome. But this new gig of yours, that Inside Pass, is just awesome. When I watch it, I laugh and I love watching. What was your favorite episode? Your personal favorite. What was your favorite?
So as a whole, I think the Japanese GP was amazing, just because we show Tokyo and then we go to the track, and we did a really fun challenge with the riders in which I would ask true or false questions. And if they got it right, they would get a local kind of Japanese sweet. And if they got it wrong, they got a really spicy chip. Like
I remember that. Chip. Yes.
Oh my God. It was the funniest thing. And then in terms of my personal experience, just being on the back of that Ducati two-seater with Randy Mamola was probably my favorite memory of 2019. Absolute best memory.
Yes.
I mean,
that was good.
I mean, come on. He did say I was a good backpack, and he was actually going faster with me in places that he would usually just go in fourth gear, just because it was me. And I was like, oh God.
Isn't that scary though?
But I loved it.
Okay, now of all the event, has there been one thing you did where you're like, "Ooh, this is kind of scary"? Maybe not. Like you're a little apprehensive because I've seen you in there.
When I did the helicopter is something that I was really like looking forward to it. And then the morning of the day, right? I'm like, So I call up my dad. I was in Austria. I was in Salzburg. So I call up my dad and I'm like, "Hi, Dad," and he's like, "What's up?" Because I normally don't call him when I'm shooting, and he's like, "What's going on?" And I'm like, I'm gonna get in a helicopter like later today, and we're gonna do aerobatics." And he's like, "What?" So I don't want to tell my family, ahead of time because they're gonna get scared. And I was like, I'm starting to feel a bit nervous. And he's like, "Just don't eat anything liquid, just eat solids." And I'm like, "Okay." He's like, "Call me as soon as you get off that helicopter." I'm like, "Okay, Dad." And that was the only time that I was a bit like, oh God. But then honestly, Mirko, one of the flying bulls from Red Bull, he is a star, and he just made me feel so at ease that I would do it again. And if I can, I'm hoping I'll get on the Alpha Jets at some point in the future.
You will. That's awesome, man. I know. I was asking you did all that cool stuff. You guys got the vehicle stuck in the sand. You rode camels. You've done everything. So I was like, I was thinking there had to be one where you're like, I don't know about this. I mean, so it was interesting that was the one. I would think it'd be the animals in Australia. I don't deal with wild animals.
No. No, I love the animals.
Well, no, not me. Anything other than a dog, I'm scared. I mean, it's got to be a nice dog. I mean, I have a pit bull, and me and him get along every now and then. But I don't really deal with the animals. You know what I mean? Because they're animals. They're caged up. They're basically like prisoners. They think they're gonna get out, but they don't. So they're not really hardened, but they're still prisoners. And that's why I look at animals. You know what I mean? Like you pet any kind of animal, like you feel those back muscles, and he can rip your heart out at any time. That's how I feel about animals. We think they're nice animals, but what if a koala has a bad day? He can rip your eyes out. Or a sloth. Sloth has got those big fingernails. Those big long nails. Yeah, but
you just need to let them be. And you sort of like pick up on their vibe and let them be. They give you that vibe, or you go for the petting.
Kind of like a girlfriend when you piss her off, like, "Hey, sweetie."
Kind of, yes, yeah.
Well, listen,
You're terrible.
But no, I'm not even good. So before we get out of here, I'm gonna ask you a couple questions. What's your favorite track? Your favorite MotoGP track? I know all of them are great in a certain way, but if you had to pick your favorite MotoGP track.
So I have to. In Europe, would be Mugello. And if I ever get the chance to do again the Ducati two-seater, I would love to be able to do it in Mugello, because the change in elevation, and just to feel that on the bike, because I did it in Silverstone, but Silverstone is flat. And I
Yes.
really enjoyed it because we could get up to 300 kilometers per hour on a two-seater. But
Right.
I didn't feel the change of elevation, and that's something that I would really love. And just the layout is amazing, you know, being in the Tuscan hills and feeling the fans so close, you know, to the paddock. It's really special. And then outside of Europe, it would have to be either Austin or Phillip Island. Those are my two, like, that's my top three.
Oh, nice, nice. I mean, you kind of cheated. I said one, but you gave me three. Okay, that's fine. I mean,
Yeah, you
okay.
know.
You do the rules here. Okay, just take over. Okay. Um, I know all of them are pretty cool, but what's the nicest MotoGP rider? I mean, I like the guy who's just, I mean, they're all nice. They're all good guys. But if you had to pick like
Nice or funny?
nice, nice. We'll go nice first and then funny second. Nice, 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 nice.
Okay, nice. I would have to say Paul Espargaro.
I love that guy. I call him the handsome bastard. If you watch I watch on his Instagram. I'll call him the handsome bastard. That's my nickname for him. Because when we were in Assen, like some fan came and kissed him on the cheek, and I go, "You never kissed me like that," and he kissed me on the cheek, and everything. I call him.
He's
the nicest guy.
You call him
the handsome bastard.
He's on it. He might be a handsome bastard, but he's a really nice guy, and he's easy to work with. Always, you know, whatever you need, he's there, and he'll make himself available. And honestly, it's really great to work with him.
Okay, the funniest.
Jack Miller.
Yeah, I like Miller. Yeah. Oh, you know what's funny is that it kind of is switching gears here for a second. I remember it was last year at COTA. And I asked Jack Miller a question. I've never been so nervous in my whole life because Miller, man, for some reason, Miller really intimidates me. And I never thought he liked me anyway.
Really?
Yeah. So I was like, and I asked him a question. And he answered it. And that night at the after party, he goes, "Hey, come in, Mike. Good question you asked me." And he gave me a hug and he went on about his way. And I was like, and it was my first, and you know, I write for Sport Bikes Inc. magazine, and so he never pays me, but he gives me passes to do the press conference. He's never paid me one bit anyway. So, and I remember I was nervous, and I sat next to you, and you, being the professional you are, you kind of metaphorically held my hand. I go, "What do I do? I'm nervous." He goes, "Just ask the question," and you were like, "Just do it." And so I think I asked Rossi a question. You were like, and you looked at me like, "It's okay, you can do it." And I asked him, and it's funny because I met some famous people. I mean, I've had my time in Hollywood. I mean, I'm not gonna brag, and I was like, it's cool. But nothing intimidates me more. Nothing intimidates me more. I mean, I've looked my mom dead in the eye with a whooping in the balance, and I've lied to my mom straight in the face, and that didn't scare me. Like sitting at a MotoGP press conference and watching those guys come in and ask them a question. I'm like, and I remember asking Rossi a question. And he was prickly. I remember he was prickly that one year for some reason. That was when Zarco cut him off, and he was mad. And I asked him a question, and he kind of like snapped. I was like, okay. And after that, I've gotten better and better. But man, it's always you walk me through it, and I always remember you for that because you sat next to me, and you were like that hand. Goes, "It's gonna be okay, BT," and you walked me through it. And I remember that. So you've always been the best.
You know who I was very starstruck with? It was my first weekend on French TV. I had to interview Giacomo Agostini, and I was like, oh, deer on headlights. I was like, oh my God, he's a legend, you know. Yes. I've never seen him race, obviously, but for me, he's like an absolute legend. So I was like, oh God, I'm going to interview him. Oh my God, what am I going to ask him? Oh my God, where to begin? And I was starstruck with Giacomo Agostini. I won't get starstruck with Valentino, but I will get starstruck with Giacomo Agostini. Go figure.
He is but he's the GOAT. I mean, we talk about that with Valentino, and that's probably much, you know, from this generation. But I mean, he literally is the GOAT. But was he really cool? Was he as cool as you think he is?
Oh my God, because I was working for French TV, I asked him. I was like, can I interview you? And he's like, yeah. Which language? And I'm like, what do you mean? Do you speak French? He's like, yes, of course. And I'm like, okay. And so I said, well, and I would speak to him in Italian because I speak Italian. So I was like, oh, I would like to ask you about this. And he's like, can you do it in French? So I asked him, you know, I gave him the question beforehand so he could prepare his answer in French. So I didn't want to catch him off guard or make him look, you know, bad. So we had this dynamic. And then the second and third time I went there, you know, he knew me and he was like, tell me the question. So I would give it to him again beforehand. And then we had that dynamic, already, in place. So it was really cool. But the first time I was like, oh, dear God.
That's awesome. I mean, I was going to ask you,
Yeah.
that was my next question. Is there anybody who you've ever been starstruck with? I mean, honestly, I don't know how you do it. You literally walk. I mean, it's like that, the definition of faith. You got to walk in the dark up a staircase, hoping that next step is there. And that's basically what you do. You just kind of like, you don't know where it's going. This career is going, but you keep walking and hoping that's all. You've interviewed Agostino, Valentino, Marquez. You've been literally in the paddock around 3 of the all-time GOATs. And I think that is, I mean, what you're doing. And here's what you do. I know we got to wrap it up, man. But what I think is awesome about you is, and I went over this with Milena, is that you don't realize that you're a role model to women growing up. I mean, to young girls growing up who want to get into motorcycle race, because you headed the FIM, the Women in Motorcycling press conference in Finland last year. And and you guys don't realize, and it's because you're in it and you're working, you don't realize it, but so many people look up to you and Milena about what you guys have done. I mean, you're in a male-dominated sport, and you make it look so effortless. And so, I just want to thank you for that, because everybody needs that role model. I mean, you're a role model not just for women, which I think is great. I think young girls need that. I think women in sport, I think it helps women become more, I don't know, disciplined and focused, whatever. But they need that. And what you do, you're everything. You're, like I said, you're approachable, you're smart without being, overbearing about it. You know what I mean? Without, flaunting it in your face. Like, yeah, I got 4 languages. How about you, BT? You gonna be that way. I mean, you're smart, you're funny, and you know what you're talking about. And it's almost like you said when you walked into that meeting, like, hey, are you lost? No. Is this for team managers? Yeah, I'm in the right place. Oh. And I think that is great that you're a role model. No, I think it's great that you're a role model for women in motorcycling. And I just want to thank you for that. And I know real quick, and I think it's one of the funniest stories ever. And I'm sorry I didn't get to it in the beginning. I want to talk to you about that, was when you were interviewing. You had to go through 7 interviews to get the Repsol Honda media job, or whatever, with the riders, the media.
Yes.
And so when they're asking you a question, they ask, please, you take it from here. When they ask you if you rode, you say, do you ride motorcycles? You take it from there.
Oh my God, yes. So basically it was Honda's home Grand Prix, was Motegi. And I had 2 previous meetings, and that was my 3rd and final meeting before getting the job. And basically I got called by the press officer back then. He's like, oh, meet me in the hospitality. And I'm like, okay. So I was walking to the hospitality in the paddock, and then so he sort of like grabs me. He's like, oh no, we're going into the office. And I'm like, okay, so I'll follow him. Bear in mind, at that time I was wearing the team uniform, from another team, and I was walking into the Repsol Honda office. So that alone, makes people talk, and it made me a bit nervous. So I walk into that office, and there's like all of the board of Japanese big bosses from Honda in that office. And I'm like, oh, okay, never mind. And then they asked me, it's like, they asked a few questions, like, what bike have you ever ridden bike? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, and they're like, oh, which one? And I just went, like, my eyes just went down. I was looking at my feet, and I said, a Yamaha. And they started laughing so hard. And I was like, oh dear God, I'm not getting the job. But I did get the job.
I think that is great. I mean, that's beautiful. That's a great story. I love that. It's kind of like a picture.
And I was so sick too. I had the flu. Oh my God. It was, honestly, I was like, I'm not getting the job. I'm sick. And I said Yamaha in front of all of the Honda board. I was like, oh.
Good for you. That's awesome. I mean, I love that story. I was like, I got to get to this story. That was my favorite one of all of them. I read that and I literally laughed out loud. I howled at that story. That's great. And that's typical you. Okay. So, and as we wrap it up, what's next for you now? I mean, you've done it. You've pretty much done it all. So in motorsport, like, what's next for you? I mean, I'm not going to get into your personal life, whatever, but like, where do you see yourself going next 5 years? Where's Vanessa going to be? Is it going to be supermodeling or what's
Oh God, no. As you know, I'm travel size, so not really fit for modeling. but I have other talents, and you know what? I'm more and more interested in producing, and the great thing about my career is that every single season has been different, and I've been able to grow, and that is honestly I've been really lucky in terms of that. I'm very open to whatever comes my way right now in terms of possibilities. I've learned to be, remain flexible and
Flexible.
adapt to whatever opportunities, you know, come my way. I'm not going to set, you know, one, you know, specific goal and then go for it, because then you allow, you know, frustration to set in if you
Right.
don't achieve it.
Right.
But I would love to produce. I would love to do more in terms of being able to do documentaries, or to, you know, just be more involved in production, not only creatively, but also, you know, maybe even in the future in editing. Or, but I love the creative side of, you know, filming and videos and sharing, you know, and just being able to share this passion for motorsports with people, and just bringing the sport closer to people is what really drives me right now.
Yes.
And yeah, that's what I want to keep doing, but just, you know, developing that in, you know, any direction that comes my way.
I have no doubt you're going to be successful, because you always are. And if you ever want to like be a personal manager for an upcoming African American comedian in America,
Yeah.
well, hey, I'm here. I think you've got my IG.
Okay.
You got my IG direct. You know, hit me up, say, hey T, I want to manage you. I go, yes. I go, yes.
Will do.
I go, we. You know what? Thank you so much. I was so.
You're very welcome.
You were the only person, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, that I literally, it was Monday night, and I woke up about 6 in the morning, and I had a dream that I was interviewing you, and I was like, man, I got to get this right. I woke up like, okay, that wasn't a good question. And that was a dream I had. And I really prepped for this, man, because I really wanted to get it right, because, I mean, you know what you're doing. I'm like, oh, boy, I can't come in half-stepping on this one. So thank you so much for this. I mean it from the bottom of my heart. You're a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful person, a great role model for the not just for women, but for everybody in motorsports and just in life, period. Thank you so much. Watch Vanessa Carlotta on.
Thanks for having me.
No, you're awesome. Thank you so much. Hopefully, I'll see you this year, and if not, definitely next year at a MotoGP race.
Hopefully, I'll see you in the paddock soon. Fingers crossed.
Soon. Yes, and you have a great night. Thank you so much. Hopefully in Madrid, you can take me around again, and we'll have a
Sounds
good
good.
Thank you so much. This is BT, Tales from the Gemini podcast, and like we always say around this time,